All right, everybody, thanks again for joining in. This episode, we are talking about yet another Shudder movie. And I am telling you that unless Shudder starts sending us some cash, I can't say that we're going to do this every week, although we probably will, because we're both proud members of Shudder.
We are card-carrying members, and
This episode, we are talking about a movie that came out in 2018 and had a short run at theaters.
this had a run in theaters.
It did, because one of my notes was like, "Oh, this would have been a movie that I could see seeing in a movie theater." And then when I was doing some more digging into it after I watched it, it did have a short run in theaters.
Oh my
And
gosh!
it's advertised as a Shudder exclusive, which I guess Shudder is the only streaming service this is available on. I'm not sure if it's available on DVD or Blu-ray. I'm assuming it probably is, or it will be if it's not yet. But we are talking about 2018's Lizzie.
That is so weird that this was in theaters. I would never have guessed that. To me, this film reminded me of like a made-for-cable movie, I mean, based on it's based on events from the 1800s. I was thinking it reminded me kind of like, I don't know, like something you'd see like on one of those channels that does those films on about the 1800s.
Yeah, it has a very independent
Yes, it does.
film quality to it. So that's where I could see you could have this in, like a short run of theaters, like coming up on the Oscar crunch, like, oh, let's get this movie out there and see if we can get it for something.
I was shocked that this was your pick. I saw the cover and I thought, okay, it's a horror film. And then I'm watching it and it's a slow burn. This isn't like a Deathgasm or a Sleepaway Camp. This is like a full on, historical, period piece type horror film. Well, and it's kind of even strange that it was on Shudder, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it is. And I will tell you the story of how this came about. So, as we were talking during the Deathgasm episode, we inadvertently both picked Deathgasm. And so I was like, oh, crap, I got to pick another movie. And so I just opened, as I was watching Deathgasm, hosted by Joe Bob Riggs, I opened the Shudder app on my phone, and Lizzie was the first movie that popped up. So I was like, all right, cool, let's do Lizzie. And so then I texted you that. I was like, all right, let's do Lizzie. It's on Shudder. And then you're like,
that was too funny.
Cool, let's do that. And then, like, the next night, I watched this movie. It was the next night. Cause at first I was going to say it was after Joe Bob, but it wasn't. Or maybe it was. I don't remember. But I watched it late at night, and it was one of those things like, I just want to see what this is about. And I didn't realize that Kristen Stewart was in it. I cannot believe that we're actually covering a movie on Horror Heads that starred Kristen Stewart after the abomination that was the Twilight series. I started watching this, and like you said, it's not a horror movie at all. I mean, this is a straight up drama. If anything, it's a historical drama. It's a period piece movie for sure. Outside of the chickens getting their heads cut off, which I even have a hard time saying that has any horror elements to it. Man, I mean, this is not a horror movie at all. This is outside of the realm of our typical episodes that we do on here. I mean, outside of, comedies that we've covered from time to time and the Star Wars movies, I guess. And, oh, wait, this is our show, right? So we can do whatever the hell we want to.
We can do anything we want to. Heck, we've even done some G-rated cartoons on this show.
We've done basically Saturday morning cartoons on this show.
Yes, we have.
Garfield, this one's for you, buddy.
There's a new Addams Family coming out, too.
I do know that, yeah.
Maybe we'll have to do a run for that one, too.
But But yeah, I turned this on just to kind of check it out and see what it was all about. And, sure enough, 2 hours later, I was like, wow. Okay. That was crazy. I can't wait to talk to Mark about this.
Yeah, I was actually pretty surprised that this was your pick. I sat back and was watching it, and I'm like, wait, is this the right Lizzie? I mean, so far there hasn't been any boobs, there hasn't been any blood. Oh wait, we're in it's like 1800s. We got this going on. So it took a long, like I said, it was a slow burn. But again, I guess like everything kind of wrapped up pretty nicely because we got 2 sets of boobs and then we got quite a bit of blood, so that was kind of cool. But
it's funny you bring that up because I had said, Lizzie, it's on Shudder, whenever that was, a week ago or 2 weeks ago. And typical to how we do stuff on here, and we've briefly talked about it, like jokingly in the Deathgasm episode. I mean, really, it is, what movie do you want to cover? This one. Okay, cool. What movie do you want to cover? This one. And then we don't talk about it really at all. Being a movie that neither one of us had saw before, I was anticipating getting the whole coming into this episode and having another The Final Girls experience with this. And those of you that are longtime listeners of the show, if you remember a couple of years ago, we did the Final Girl episode, and then the next episode we did like a week later or a couple weeks later was The Final Girls, and that was because we had picked to do The Final Girls, but one of us watched The Final Girl instead, and so then we're like, oh crap, okay, well let's do that one, and then we'll do this other one. And so yeah, actually, I was anticipating to us get on this call and then be like, all right, so we're ready to talk about Lizzie? And then you'd be like, yeah, I watched this other movie. And then be like, no, that's not the movie I said to watch. Oh, well, shit.
That's funny you say that because actually when I first, looked it up, something else popped up. But then you sent me the picture. You sent me the cover art.
Oh, okay, cool.
Okay. And so I was like, oh, that's what I got to find. So the first one was the wrong one that I almost considered watching. But I did find the right one. So I guess you have to kind of stick with the photos now. But yeah, this is the story of Lizzie Borden. And no, not the old heavy metal band that nobody knows about from the 80s. This is another Lizzie Borden, as in the woman who killed her father. And, well, here's the question. Okay, so Lizzie Borden is this well-known woman who was involved in murder, like killing her father, killing some people in her home. But at the same time, according to the movie, she never was accused of it, right?
She was accused, but she was acquitted of it.
She was acquitted.
Yep.
Okay, so she never because she lived to be in her 60s or whatever. And then,
right, yep. Oh, that's all accurate, yep.
Okay, because I, for some reason, when I thought of Lizzie Borden, and I knew this was going to be about her, just because, I kind of knew a little bit about who she was. In my mind, all I knew about the real Lizzie Borden was that she was a woman who went crazy and killed a bunch of people with an axe in her family. That's all I knew. So going into this film, I was actually kind of surprised because it didn't seem to kind of unfold the way that my preconception of the character would be.
Which is kind of interesting because the depiction in the movie is, which I think when you're younger, you get that Lizzie Borden was this crazy woman who killed everybody in the town when she was, whatever, in the 1800s.
Right.
But once you actually look into it, I mean, no, what it was she killed her father and her mother-in-law, or her stepmother. She was tried for it, but she was acquitted for whatever reason. And this is just a alternative telling of the events that happened in this. So basically you have Lizzie Borden, who was played by Chloe, oh man, I'm going to butcher her last name. I have no idea how to pronounce her last name. Sevenry? We'll go with that. Sorry, Chloe, if you're listening to this, feel free to correct us. And Lizzie was played by Chloe. Kristen Stewart played Bridget, the maid. This one kind of introduced the element of Lizzie and Bridget were lesbian lovers, which led them to murder the dad and the stepmom.
So was that part of the lore?
No, I don't think so. And I don't know.
Oh.
I didn't do too much digging into this. I don't know if Bridget was actually a real person. I mean, she probably was, or maybe there was some sort of relevance to that. But I mean, before this came out, I never heard of anything about Lizzie Borden being gay at all. Yeah, I've never heard that telling of it. Like you were saying before, this is one of those stories where you've heard about forever. So I think it's one of those things where you're trying to get a movie made and you're like, oh, we got to come up with I want to make a Lizzie Borden movie. Oh, cool. So it's going to be like all the other 85 Lizzie Borden movies that are out there? No, not at all. I'm going to do this other twist on the story. Oh, perfect. Let's do that.
So, okay, I get that. Okay, that makes sense now.
So, I mean, I don't know if that's... Maybe it's out in some Lizzie Borden book because, like you, I have no real history in the Lizzie Borden at all. And I don't know if I've ever seen another Lizzie Borden, like straight-up Lizzie Borden movie.
Well, there definitely are a few because
there's a lot of them.
It's funny because, like, Lizzie Borden, I had no idea who this character was. Like, my first introduction to who Lizzie Borden was, it's so bizarre to think about. But I remember being at a record store and seeing a vinyl album of a band called a heavy metal band back in like the late 80s. Well, they were probably the early 80s, whatever. And the band was called Lizzie Borden. And I was like, what the hell? Okay. And I was thinking in my head, no, that sounds kind of like Ozzy Osbourne. Maybe they just, kind of like played on that name. Like, this is like a, B-level Ozzy Osbourne. Now we got a Lizzie Borden. Anyhow. So I remember like going into there was no internet back at the time, and going to the encyclopedia or whatever I did, finding Lizzie Borden, reading, oh, Lizzie Borden was a such and such who killed so-and-so with an axe and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, well, that makes sense why a heavy metal band would name their band after that. And I've never heard the band before, so I don't know if they suck, but they probably did because I've never heard of the band before. Anyhow, so that was my introduction to the character. I knew nothing else other than it was a woman who killed a bunch of people with an axe, and I knew it was something related to her family. So going into this movie, I was like just basically thinking, oh, this must have been what really happened. I had no idea that it was an alternate take on the storyline, whatever. But what really surprised me was that she was acquitted, like you said, because from my perspective, I thought, or at least from my very, very, very limited knowledge, was that this woman was probably like in a mental institution at the end of all this, but apparently she wasn't.
Nope, not at all. This happened in 1892, and her sister went on to live life in freedom, and they both died, oddly enough, in, I think, 1927. And it's one of those things like Lizzie died first of something, or her sister died first of something, and then the other one died like a week later of something else.
Weird to think that in 1892, we have Lizzie Borden, allegedly with an axe, killing a bunch of people. And 100 years later, we have Kurt Cobain coming out with the Nevermind album. Not sure how that all connects.
It's like I'm like, what?
But anyhow, yeah. So the movie was kind of like a courtroom film. It was I thought it was very well acted. I think Lizzie Borden, the actress that you had mentioned, that I don't even remember her name, but
Chloe. We'll just go with Chloe.
Chloe. She did a really good job. I thought I think all the actors, actresses did a really good job, and I thought it was a very well acted film.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely something where it didn't seem like a Shutter, quote unquote Shutter film, but it seemed but like once you watch it, you're like, oh yeah, this is it's a well done film. It definitely didn't feel like a B film or anything like that, other than the fact that it wasn't like something that everybody was talking about or whatever.
It's funny because one of the things that I know that Kristen Stewart is notoriously known for is her inability to show any emotion. And I will say in this movie, she really doesn't show that much emotion at all. I mean, it's pretty much Kristen Stewart, but man, does she pull off the Irish accent like nobody's business. I mean, if you wouldn't have known that she's not Irish, there's no way you would have known. I mean, she just pulls that off like crazy, but she's just all like just straight faced the entire movie.
Yeah, and she pulls her shirt off pretty well too.
So maybe we should get to that because that is one thing. It gets towards the end of the movie, and then all of a sudden, Chloe is naked. And I'm like, what? What?
Completely, 100%.
Okay, I wasn't expecting to see her naked today. That's cool. And then she goes and does some stuff, and then I'm like, oh, am I going to see Kristen Stewart naked here in a second?
Yes,
sure enough,
you are.
2 minutes later, Kristen Stewart's taking her clothes off, and I'm like, okay. And I gotta say that I wasn't disappointed with either one of them.
No, who would you go with? Who would you say would be the top of the or number one out of those two?
I was gonna like, wait, what are we talking about? We're talking about tops and bottoms here. You know what? I would have to say Chloe would beat out Kristen actually.
Okay, see, I was originally going to say that, but then I kind of thought about it a little longer. I'm going to go with Kristen.
Okay.
For whatever reason. But yeah, it was a pretty decent film. I mean, I was actually pleasantly surprised. I enjoyed it. If you're interested in the Lizzie Borden storyline and you want to just kind of get maybe a different take on it, then I definitely would recommend this film. Again, it's not like, I don't know, it's not something, again, that you would think of when you would scroll through the Shudder category. Which was a kind of a surprise. It seemed like more something that would be on like Netflix or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know how Shudder ended up with that. It was just one of those. I wonder if that's one of those things with them being like new and up and coming and stuff, to where when it played at whatever film festival last year, and they were the first ones to get the offer in or something. Like, oh, we'll give you whatever.
That could be.
So
yeah, that could be. What year did it come out?
Last year, 2018.
Oh wow. Okay.
So I mean, this is another new one for us.
Man, we are like right on it. And gosh, can you believe it? I mean, Pet Sematary, we actually did a 2019 film, and here we are doing this 2018. My goodness.
And it just premiered when we on Shudder when we covered it. So I mean, it's only been out for like a week or 10 days or something. So
it's funny because real quickly, I wanted to kind of I know we're gonna categorize this film and do the whole thumbs up and thumbs down thing. But I'm wondering if there would be a different category that we could add to this. Like, do you remember Masterpiece Theater from back in the 80s, or probably before that even?
Yeah.
It was like this old guy in a sweater, and he'd have this old book he'd open up, and then like Moby Dick or whatever, and then he'd show the movie for it. I'm wondering if there'd be a horror host who would be out there who'd want to do like a very traditional or classic type of horror hosting. Maybe picture Joe Bob Briggs with like a sweater on, sitting in like a library, and here he is pulling out the Lizzie Borden book, and but today's film is about these murders that occurred in 1892, blah blah blah, and go from there. Maybe do like a side thing as opposed to his usual show.
Well, I gotta wonder if there's ever been a horror host that's introduced the movie that I'm talking about as tonight's film I don't know if Svengoolie has ever uttered the words "film" when he's referring to the flick he's playing.
I think you're right. Any horror, I think that might be a new, a new opening here that needs to be filled of, like a more traditional, classic, classy type of horror hosting that's a little different. So maybe instead of the Svengoolie, like picture Svengoolie, instead of wearing the black overcoat, he's wearing a sweater, and he's sitting again like with a library behind him or a bookshelf and like a model boat there too.
In a bottle?
Yeah. With a glass of Chardonnay, and he's like talking about today's feature film will be Lizzie, based on the 1892 murders and the Lizzie Borden family, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, put the Lone Star away, and we'll see. Yeah, be interesting. Maybe that'll be a whole new category for horror hosting. Shudder, you gotta think about that now.
Yeah, and send us our check for this month too, please.
Exactly, please do.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and say that I give Lizzie and this is going to be a new one, a unsuspected thumbs up, because I was not anticipating. As soon as I realized that Kristen Stewart was in this movie, I was like, oh, damn it, why I almost texted you back. I'm like, I'm sorry, I take that back. I didn't mean that. And then I started watching it, and then I was like, oh, I'll give this a shot. And then as soon as the boobs came out, I was like, all right, this is it, man. Thumbs up for me.
I'll go ahead and give it a thumbs up, too. I mean, it's not like a pick that I think I'll probably never watch it again. But it was enjoyable. It was fine for what it was. It was well acted. It was a good film, and I can't really say anything bad about it. And and you can't beat the double dose of boobs either. So you got to give that a thumbs up for that.